I have a confession to make. Back then, I never really played Halo. Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel Armak Fall, and I don't regret it at all that I waited so many years to play this game. Really, not just this game, all the games, because the Halo Master Chief Collection contains actually part 1 to part 4. That is at the moment what are we playing, Halo CE Anniversary Edition, which is great. I'm actually impressed of the graphic quality. I mean, you can see that this game is a couple of years old already, but I have to say I played recent games with much worse graphic, to be very honest. And not just like this, not just the graphic, but HDR effects are really great. The patched HDR later on into the games, which is really great, or really great effects, and we're talking about this in a minute, of course. And the other topic is up to 120 FPS if we like to use it, because unfortunately it comes with a downside. Yeah, and I have to say the buggy controls are really not very good. Why are you not shooting? Ah, okay. Come on, thank you. But the sound is also great, really. I missed a lot. And again, this game is a couple of years old. You can see it on the shadow quality, and I'm downloading the game right now on the PC because I like to compare it actually later on. But it's 180 gigabyte. That's a lot, and it takes me ages probably with my Australian internet connection here. But doesn't matter, I'd like to compare this. Maybe I'm doing a quick video about this as well, because it's also free on the PC, Game Pass, and also on the Xbox, so which is great. And I'm very sure I'm doing a little bit of Let's Plays from the games, because the gameplay is really amazing. Okay, the buggy control is really a little bit... Anyway, oh my god. Oh. Anyway, so topic today is HDR and performance, 60 versus 120 frames per second, and we're starting with the HDR effects, especially in this level, and later on I'll show you a couple of more levels, but I'm really impressed. So, what I have to say, for me in a game, the overall impression or graphic quality is very important. So it's not just to have the highest resolution or the best shadow quality, it's the whole package. And I have to say that Halo, even you can see the shadows are really very low res, and the animation are very bad actually. But the overall quality, if I'm looking at this, is just amazing in my opinion. It just makes fun to play this game. And it doesn't matter if the graphic quality is maybe, how should I say, it's not average. Don't get me wrong. If you look at some aspects from the graphic, of course they are maybe below average, like the shadow quality again, okay, or the resolution from some textures. But again, the whole package is very important, and for that old game, it makes such a good impression to me that I'm just very impressed, to be honest. Okay, so I changed my settings on my camera to show you what is going on the screen, and there is no doubt that HDRG is the way to go for this game because of the great in-game settings from the game. I will show you this a little bit later, okay? So, also what I like to show you, of course, is my settings from my Hdr Gaming Mode. So I'm using always Hdr Gaming Mode, okay? So there's no other mode because of the low input lag and so on, okay? I haven't changed anything in terms of the standard settings. So that's not completely true, of course, because usually standard is sharpness on 10. I changed this to 0, and I think the color is 55. I changed this also to 50. Advanced controls, as you can see, HDRG is activated. Color gamut, very important. Leave it on auto. Don't change it to white or extend it or whatsoever, because you end up in wrong colors. So in this case, there's not much difference, but if you have a game, let's say with a lot of green and a lot of red, you will end up probably with wrong colors, depending on what the TV is using in auto, okay? So, and again, auto is the right way to go, even in HDR. So, gamma you can't change it in HDR. White balance, I changed a couple of things, and so just take those settings and I show you the high as well. So low is 4, red 4 and blue 4, green is 0. And the high settings are -5 red and -2 for blue. So, but I will do updated calibration videos soon, because I found this even those settings are not correct anymore when it comes to the perfect 6504 Kelvin in terms of the white balance. But there you can actually see with those settings, they are not far away from the standard, you know what I mean? And of course warm 2 is the way to go, as always, because usually I think it's on medium and gaming mode, and I would strongly recommend to change this on warm 2, okay? To be closer on the standard, okay? But anyway, just copy and paste this if you want. You can't do any harm to your TV, but also I will do updated videos soon in terms of color calibration, okay? So nothing is changed in color management, because I think in HDR, there's almost no point. So maybe some people will correct me, because let's say like this, you can of course color correct some points in REC 2020, even the TV can't display this in the full range. But I think it's really a waste of time, to be very honest, because you won't see probably the difference, okay? So that's my own opinion. So I'm not doing any color correction or manual color correction in HDR. I would do it, of course, when I'm doing auto calibration, but that's a different story. What I do, of course, is in SDR. Very important, because you can do a perfect color correction in SDR. Okay, but too much about calibration. That's not the video today. Black level auto, and of course, if you, I'm receiving so many comments about this. Just watch my other video about the black levels to get an idea what is the right setting on your TV, because you can't say actually it is high or low or whatever. I mean, actually you can. So because low and low on the console works for everything, okay? Even for HDR. Because as you can see, there's no difference here, but if you go to high, it's the wrong gamma setting, okay? Because you have a difference now. Anyway, just a quick, too much off topic to be honest. Motion eye care off, and now we're going back to HDR and I show you the internal settings. Okay, so here we are with the internal HDR settings from Halo, and just keep in mind, those settings are for HGIG, okay? So I did all my testing after I found that HGIG is working very well. Even the game does not support it natively, so that means that, where's my home? That the Hdr Calibration Menu, you can set whatever you want in this menu, like this, absolutely wrong. It will not affect the game at all, because it is not supported, okay? So very important to remember, this or those settings what I have done here are really just for HGIG. Okay, and I'm very sure it's very hard for you to read what are my settings actually. So HDR brightness is set to 800. Paper white is set to 4, so the standard, by the way, is I think 0.5, which makes the game very, very dark. And I found that even with 4, I'm not losing any details in HDR. So far what I tested, and I tested really a lot of levels, especially very bright levels with bright lights, and I will show you this in a second. So after with 4.5 and 5, it's starting to, that you lose details, okay? So again, HDR brightness is 800, paper white is 4, and contrast I left it on 5. So again, keep in mind, this is with HGIG. If you like to use dynamic tone mapping, or if you have to use dynamic tone mapping, then you have to actually decrease paper white to around 2.53 to not lose details in very bright objects. When I started the Halo Master Chief Collection for the very first time on my Xbox Series X, then I started Halo 4 and I played this very first level. And I was so impressed with the lighting and the HDR effects. And what I can show you, and I'm very sure unfortunately you can't see it on your screen because my camera is just making this very, very bright, and it will not show you actually that those are two lamps here, you know what I mean? You have a bottom lamp and a top lamp, and it is so nice to see that there are two lamps. And even when you increase now your HDR to, let's say, 7, you still can see actually a gap between those two lamps, but it starts of course to blur in, if this is the right word. So in this very first level, you can actually go up to easily the Paperwhite 5 or 6 in HDRG to get a very bright, absolutely bright HDR. This is so bright. I mean, it is actually, it's a little bit painful in the eyes already, you know what I mean? But again, I'm so impressed with the HDR effects here. Just let me set this back to 4, because again, I found in later levels you have different HDR effects, and of course with Paperwhite settings to 6, it is not quite the same anymore. But anyway, this very beginning from the level, and of course, I don't want to spoil it too much. Look at this. This is just amazing, because it's about the atmosphere, okay, from the game. You walk some, I mean, it's not very detailed. Don't get me wrong. The graphic is not very detailed. If you play other games, first-person shooters, very new first-person shooter, you have better overall graphic. Yeah, I get this, but the atmosphere, the impression from this graphic is just very, very great. And yeah, I haven't seen so many games that can actually, yeah, compete against this, to be very honest. Okay, so another example why HDRG or why HDR actually is so great in this game. So, and I'm not even using dynamic tone mapping, because the difference between dynamic tone mapping and HDRG is actually almost 0. I mean, there is a difference, because we know that dynamic tone mapping is changing the brightness all the time, which is very annoying in some games. That's why I recommend HDRG in most of the games. And also here, it is just better HDRG, okay? But you can actually see the difference between dynamic tone mapping off and HDRG, what this is for a great HDR in my opinion. So I'm not even sure if this is real HDR, because I can't measure it, but from my impression, from what I can see, it is really, really great, and it is just so great. I mean, it's always like, you know, in suns and whatever, in lights, of course, but look at the difference. HDRG and dynamic tone mapping off. And it's not just, again, it's not just the brightness, it's also the color is different when you turn on HDRG. Okay, let's move a little bit on, because the overall impression from this level is just, where do I have to go? Here. It's just so great, because everything, you know, all the little details here, like this white stuff here, or on the left corner here, is getting much brighter with HDRG. And dynamic tone mapping is just a little bit brighter at this very moment. But keep in mind, for dynamic tone mapping, you need to decrease the Paperwhite a little bit, because otherwise you end up with losing details already, because dynamic tone mapping tends to over brighten some objects, okay? So that's also something why I would not recommend dynamic tone mapping in this game. Okay, so don't get me wrong again, because there are games out there where I not recommended HDRG at all. And I know that some YouTubers claiming that you should use HDRG all the time, but this is also not true in my opinion, because some games like God of War, they are really looking awful in HDRG, because it is just maybe a very bad HDR oh shit, there is someone. Implementation. And then of course, if you do HDRG, which is relying on the panel and game information and whatsoever, very bad combination. Okay, so in some games again, HDRG is not doing a great job. What do I have to do here? Hold. Okay, hold. And this again, it looks so much better. I'm not even sure if we have HDR effects. Very minor here. I'm very sure you can't see it. So this is getting brighter here. And in this case, right now, dynamic tone mapping is much brighter. But again, I don't like the effect from dynamic tone mapping, okay? I really don't like it. Okay, I'll show you another example. Okay, so this is my last example, my last sample, I promise, in terms of HDR. And then we're moving on to 60 versus 120 frames per second. And this is, I think, this is Halo 1. So the very first part. And again, this game is, I don't know how many years old, and I'm impressed with the graphic details. You know, compared to recent games, this is really great. And again, HGHG or HDR is really doing a great job here, as you can see on the tank here, or yeah, the truck. What is the trailer? It's a trailer, yes. And also here, of course, the sun and the clouds. And I'm checked already my camera. I know you can't see this actually, but this is so nice cloud effects and this nice sun with the sun rays or sun beams. What is the right name for this? I don't know. But again, what HGHG is doing, and of course dynamic tone mapping, it will really show you all the details. But in my opinion, HGHG a little bit better than dynamic tone mapping. And again, this is my recommendation. There is no way, look at this, you have nice clouds or in front of the sun all the time, which are moving. And you still can see them when you turn on HGHG. I can see them, you can't see them unfortunately. And this is such a great effect. And again, I know we are not looking all the time here. We actually have to do a mission here. But also when you look up to the mountain here, you can actually see, or hopefully you can see that all this white snow is getting, not now because now we have a cloud coming up, but all these white parts here getting brighter with HGHG and of course with dynamic tone mapping. But what you can see, dynamic tone mapping is brighten up the whole picture at this very moment. And in my opinion, there is no need to do this because the brightness in HGHG with paper white 4 is more than enough, okay? Okay, again, before we continue with the performance test, HDR brightness 800, paper white 4, HGHG 4. For dynamic tone mapping, I would recommend 3 or 3.5. And contrast, I left it on 5 because I saw this was really the best experience for me, okay? So let's move on with performance test. 60 FPS versus 120 FPS. I think it is very clear which mode is the better one if we don't have a very big disadvantage in terms of graphic, of course. In case of Halo, I was not able to spot any difference between 60 and 120 frames per second in terms of graphic quality. Everything looks exactly the same to me, okay? The only downside is that in some levels we are not having perfect 120 frames per second. And now you're thinking, hey, that doesn't matter because we have FreeSync. Yeah, but it's not working in the game. So you can see 5.5 means 120 frames. If we move here, we have not 120 Hertz anymore or frames anymore. And you can see stuttering, and not just minor stuttering, it's heavy stuttering. So unfortunately, FreeSync or VRR is not supported by the game, or actually it's just not working. I have really, to be very honest, no idea how this is working in the background, but it looks to me that a game has to support VRR as well. Otherwise, it's not working, and you can clearly see it. We are below 3.6, and by the way, I can't spot any VRR flickering in this game because we are very constant with the frame rate, okay? We're not jumping up and down. But nevertheless, it is not working because the difference is here absolutely perfect 120 FPS, and this is a dream on this TV, you know? But as soon we're falling below 120, it starts to stutter, and I have no idea why VRR is actually not working. So maybe one of you can explain this to me, because I was not able to find anything on Google that actually, or maybe a game has to support this feature, FreeSync or VRR in the background, that it actually it's working, because it's not. But on the other hand, I can't understand it, because all what the TV has to do is actually changing the frequency from the panel according to the frequency or frames to the game. That's all what needs to be happen. But as you can see in this level, especially in this level, that's the worst level, by the way, what I found. All the other levels are very minor dips in case of 120 frames per second. So again, I would recommend this mode over the 60 FPS anytime, because it's really just this level so far. What is really annoying. And again, I don't get it. Why is it not working? Because when the game falls below 120 frames per second, all what the panel has to do is adjust the frequency to the frames. That's what the panel has to do, but it's not happening here. And it's not the first game where I found that freezing is not working. Oh, hello, hello. I don't have any grenades. Now they're gone. And again, this is Halo 4, which looks really amazing in my opinion. But as you can see here, 5.5, 120 frames, and here I am not sure what this is, maybe 80 frames or whatever, but you can clearly see heavy stuttering. Okay, so but what is my conclusion now to this game? So, or not to this game, to the collection, and it is really, really great. I'm very impressed with the overall quality from those old games. I'm actually really impressed from the HDR effects, and of course 120 frames per second, and that's 120 frames at the moment as well. And here I'm not sure, here is actually everything is fine. We're just activating this. Come on, do it. And then we go, no, I don't want to watch this. We go here, and yeah, again, HDR looks great. Performance wise, I can't actually complain. We have here also not 120 frames, and you can see actually minor stuttering, which is not, it's not a big deal, to be very honest, because most of the time it's running really in 120 frames per second, and that is what's count. But here, look at this effects. Wow, this is just great, and I'm very sure I'm doing a let's play from Halo 4. Because I'm really impressed from this game, not just about the gameplay, about the graphic as well. Wow, okay. Anyway, so again, conclusion is use HGHG, and the settings is HDR brightness 800, paper white is 4. If you like to use DTM, it's 3 to 3.5, contrast 5, okay? And also use the 120 Hertz mode. First of all, lower input lag and much better resolution from the panel, of course. And again, HDR looks just amazing in this game. Okay, that's it from my side. And I have to kill a couple of, I have no idea what name this is. Oh my God, they're coming a lot. Hello. And yeah, I'm very busy here. So anyway, so leave me a comment. And if you're new to my channel, just subscribe, please. I would much appreciate it, as always. Thank you. Yeah, and I'll see you next time in my next video, okay? So stay safe, take care, and yeah, thank you very much for watching me. Bye.